Daf Yomi, Tractate Bava Batra, page 60b. The last part of this is the conclusion of a third parak, Cheskos Abatim. And we were in the middle of a story, and I got into a story about when the temple was destroyed, many people didn't eat meat and wine. So Yehoshua came and asked them, why aren't you eating meat and wine? So he kind of basically checkmated them. He went, maybe you shouldn't eat bread either because they had menachos. Maybe you shouldn't eat fruit either because of the bikurim. And so they kept going until it came to water. Maybe you shouldn't drink water either because the nisach hamayim. And then they said, okay, you're right. Too much asceticism, I mean, that's my own interpretation, but I think maybe he basically got them to eat meat and wine again, probably. I'm guessing. But it doesn't say. But anyway, Amar Lahen. So with the words Amar Lahen, after Shekvar Batul Nisach Hamayim Shatku, the last few lines. Last several lines. There it is. Okay. Amar Lahen Banai Bayu Amar Lachem Shalom Lezabel Kol Yikar Yefshar Shekvar Nigzar Gzera Velit Abel Yoter Midai Yefshar Shein Gozrin Gzera Al HaTzibur Ela Im Ken Rov Tzibur Yecholin Lamod Ba Tichtiv Bam'ira Atem Ne'arim Ve'oti Atem Kovim HaGoy Kulo. Yehoshua said to them, Bekitzer, he said to them, my children, come, now I will tell you how we should act. Not to mourn at all is impossible, as the decree was already issued and the temple has been destroyed. But to mourn excessively, as you are doing, is also impossible, as the sages do not issue a decree upon the public unless a majority of the public is able to abide by it, as it is written, you are cursed with the cursed, yet you rob me, even this whole nation. Malachi 3:9. Indicating that the prophet rebukes the people for neglecting observances only if they were accepted by the whole nation. Okay. Ela kach amru chachamim, sad adam et beito besid, mishayar bo devar muad, chama am Rav Yosef, ama al ama. Am Rav Chizda Keneged Pesach. Rabbi Yehoshua continues, rather, this is what the sages said. A person may plaster his house with plaster, but he must leave over a small amount in it without plaster, to remember the destruction of the temple. This reminds me of the beginning of this Masechta. After we were talking about mechitzas and stuff, it went into a gadatas about the temple. And I think that, I made this observation that it's possible that the subject matter of the temple is like a bias. And since Bava Batra is really dealing with like property laws and the bias, it's always it's referencing things about the temple because we should remember that bias. The Gemara interjects, and how much is a small amount? Yehoshua said 1 cubit by 1 cubit. Chizah said this should be opposite the entrance so that it is visible to all. Ois yodem kol tzorchei suda umeshar davar muat mai amar Rav Papa kaso dihar sono. Rabbi Yehoshua continues, the sages said that a person may prepare all that he needs for a meal, but he must leave out a small item to remember the destruction of the temple. The Gemara interjects, what is this small item? Rav Papa says something akin to a small fried fish. The sages said a person may prepare all that he needs for a meal, but he must leave out a small item to remember the temple. A small fried fish, Rav Papa is saying. Let's not forget who asked the first teku. Rav Papa. The first teku, which was on Brachos 8a, at the bottom of the page, 2 lines from the bottom, the 8th word on the line, teku. Rav Papa said something akin to a small fried Fish. עושי שכל תכשיטה משיירת דבר מועט מהי אמריו. בת צידה, שנאמר, אם אשכחך ירושלים תשכח ימיני תדבק לשויני לחיקי. Rabbi Yehoshua continues, the sages said that a woman may engage in all of her cosmetic treatments, but she must leave out a small matter to remember the destruction of the temple. The Gemara interjects, what is this small matter? Rav said she does not remove hair from the place on the temple from which women would remove hair. The source for these practices is a verse it is stated, if I forget you, Jerusalem, let my right hand forget its cunning, let my tongue cleave to the roof of my mouth. If I remember you not, if I not set Jerusalem above my highest joy. Psalms 137, 5, 6. My al roish simchosi, Amrav Yitzchak ze'efer mikla sheberoish chasanim. What the Gemara asks, what is the meaning of above my highest joy? Rav Yitzchak says this is referring to the burnt ashes that is our customary place on the head of bridegrooms at the time of their wedding celebrations to remember the destruction of the temple. Ze'efer mikla sheberoish chasanim. Omele Republi Abaye Heche benach leben koim tfilin Shenemar lasum ala avei Tzion Latet lahem pa'er tachat efer. Wow, pa'er and efer are the same letters. Latet lahem pa'er tachat efer. Rav Papa said to Abaye, where they placed, Abaye replied, on the place where the phylacteries are placed. As it is stated, to appoint them that mourn in Zion, to give them a garland in the place of ashes. Isaiah 61:3. Since phylacteries are referred to as a garland, pe'er, see Ezekiel 24:17, it may be inferred from this verse that the ashes were placed in the same place as the phylacteries. V'chol hamit'abel al Yerushalayim zoiche v'roya b'simchoso. Shneimar simchu et Yerushalayim. The Brisa continues that anyone who mourns the destruction of Jerusalem will merit and see his joy, as it is stated, rejoice with Jerusalem and be glad with her, all that love her. Rejoice for joy with her, all that mourn with her. Isaiah 66:10. Tanya Amar Bishmuel ben Elisha. Tanya Amar Rabbi Yishmael ben Elisha. I'm guessing it's the same one. מיום שחרבס המקדש דין הוא שנגזור על עצמנו שלא הולך הבשר ולא ישתות יין אלא אין גוזרים גזירו על הציבור אלא אם כן רוב ציבור יכולים לעמוד בו. It's taught in a Brisa, it's a Tosefta in Soita 15:10, that Rabbi Shmuel ben Elisha said, from the day that the temple was destroyed by right, we should decree upon ourselves not to eat meat and not to drink wine. But the sages do not issue a decree upon the public unless the majority of the public is able to abide by it. The Shavua Haben. This is what I was looking for. Ve'amri la liyeshua haben. Who's Yehoshua haben? Do you know? And from the day that, okay, let's finish. Dinhu shenigzo al atzmenu shelo yilisa isho velohoy lidbonim venimtza zaroi shel Avraham Avinu kala meilov. Elo hanach lohem Yisrael mutov sheyeh shoygin v'aliu mezidin hadron alo cheskos habatim hadron alo cheskos habatim hadron alo cheskos habatim. We shall return to you. Oh, we gotta do the English. Without, do we have to do the Taich? This is very interesting. From the day that the wicked kingdom, Rome, spread, who decree evil and harsh decrees upon us and nullify Torah and the study of the importance of mitzvahs for us, and do not allow us to enter the celebration of the first week of a sun. The first week of a sun. Do you know what that is? They call the first week of the sun, before a baby boy has a bris, they call it Shavua Haben. It's the week of the sun. Shavua Haben, Minyan 435. Oh. Abrava state. Some people call it Yehoshua Haben. What's Yehoshua Haben? Some people call it the salvation of firstborn son. Does the firstborn son offer salvation? By right we should each decree upon ourselves not to marry a woman and not to produce offspring. And it will turn out the descendants of Abraham, our forefather, will cease to exist on their own, rather than being forced into a situation where there are sons who are not circumcised. Elo hanach lohem Yisrael mutov sheyeh shoygin v'aliu mazidin. But concerning a situation such as this, the following principle is applied. Leave the Jews alone and do not impose decrees by which they cannot abide. It is better that they be unwitting sinners who do not know what they are doing is improper, considering the circumstances, and not to be intentional wrongdoers who marry and procreate despite knowing they should not. This is a hard statement. I mean, it's a mitzvah to procreate. So why would you ever be a mazidin by procreating? We'll leave that as my own personal teku. But this is a pretty well-known concept throughout Shas. Mutav shehei shogigin ve'al yu mazidin. Mutav shehei shogigin ve'al yu mazidin. You find that come up a lot. Sometimes if you know a person's going to sin, and let's say provided that it's b'diavad, you can do it. It's not the best thing to do. I think if it's an outright isser, you have to not let them do it. But if it's like, so, you let them, if you know they're going to do it anyway. But at any rate, we conclude with this, the third chapter of Bava Batra, Cheskos Habatim, we shall return to you. Cheskos Habatim, we shall return to you. Cheskos Habatim, we shall return to you.